As the Spark Festival continues, let's catch up with another founder getting ready to share his story on innovation and entrepreneurship. David Morgan founded Iron Matrix, a modular steel construction system with an environmental focus. He's speaking tomorrow at 11:20 a.m. on the Spark livestream. David's on Skype now to give us a sneak peek at his talk. David, welcome to Startup Daily TV.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Great to have you on, David. Now, looking at Iron Matrix, I kind of thought you're the IKEA of steel. The way you've managed to sort of flat pack this and move it around and everything. Tell us about how Iron Matrix came about.
Gosh, so yeah, the story actually starts in my prior career. I worked in the oil and gas industry for 18 years. Basically, I was responsible for pulling together the technical and commercial justifications in support of investments in mega projects. And all I could see in the oil and gas industry was that things are getting more and more challenged. And even when I started thinking about Iron Matrix, solar and things like solar and batteries were orders of magnitude more expensive, but it was actually the trends that was really interesting. Fossil fuels are on a scarcity curve, whereas batteries and solar are on a technology curve. So they're just basically batteries and solar is always getting better, and oil and gas is just getting harder and harder. And it got to the point where I was thinking it's about time. There's going to be a transition. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. And if we don't get ahead of it, then basically I'm going to be out of a job before I retire.
David, it sounds very visionary, but I'm guessing it didn't happen overnight. Run us through the development process. What did it take to leave your previous career and then work on an innovation like this? How long did it take, and what did you go through?
So I guess I didn't start off so courageous, because I actually ended up taking 2 years unpaid leave to start this. So I always actually had a job to go back to. Really it was a process. We built a prototype, and the intention there was to be able to demonstrate the engineering and demonstrate that we could actually build the structure in any location. So as you mentioned, it's all flat packed, but you need to also be able to build this structure by hand. The whole goal is actually to maximize the energy generation while minimizing its use. So we had a number of factors and elements in there which we had to basically work on all in parallel in order to achieve this ultimate objective. But basically by the time it got to 2017 and we had the prototype done, the price of solar panels was still dropping dramatically to the point where a solar panel on a dollars per square meter basis actually became cheaper than installed structural plywood. And then at that point, we basically went all in. I handed in my resignation, and the decision was relatively easy in the end. When you understand both the economics, but also the physics, the energy, the thermodynamics behind what it is we're doing, it was quite a compelling story.
Having put this compelling story together, fired up the company, left the old job, you're there and you're doing it. What have you learned from your journey as an entrepreneur and a startup founder?
Gosh, so I mean, what haven't I learned? You know, I worked for a company for 18 years, but had no idea how one actually operated. Shareholders and shareholder agreements and the legal requirements. This was all brand new to me. So starting this up, I actually joined Energy Lab, which is a clean energy accelerator out of Sydney, and they were fantastic. And then, every day is a learning experience, quite honestly. You don't know what you don't know until you try something new. Network is incredibly important. Psychological fortitude, that's probably the thing that I would say to people now you really need. So having an idea of not only what you're doing, but why, and this is what I'm going to expand on in the Spark Festival discussion tomorrow. So having a pretty clear vision of what it is you want to do, that's incredibly important, because it's a massive roller coaster. There's ups and downs, and engineers aren't typically all that emotional, but there are good days and bad days for sure.
So as you mentioned, you're speaking at the Spark Festival tomorrow. You're featured in Startup Stories. How important is it for you now to mentor other founders and entrepreneurs that are trying to innovate in this environmental space?
Yeah, I think it's crucial because the innovation journey is actually really lonely and almost by definition. And I'd say this to people now that if you're doing something genuinely innovative, then people actually don't know if it's going to work or not. Because if that's been proven, then the information exists. It's actually probably not all that innovative. So actually having people that understand that journey, that recognize that this is imagination, not fact, and having someone to talk to about those things is critically important. I had a number of people that were of similar mindsets, completely different backgrounds, having people to talk to like that is fantastic. And in Australia, we've got it's just the opportunities in this country are fantastic. So yeah, chatting with people just over a coffee, telling them, you know what, you're not crazy. You will do this. It does require a degree of fortitude and stubbornness, but you will get there. These are all things that I think are super valuable.
David Morgan, I think it's going to be a fascinating chat tomorrow at 11:20 a.m. on the Spark Festival live stream. Your product itself is just amazing. I think it's incredible. Built by robots, flat packed, and then you can use just 2 people to put it together. What an incredible engineering feat when it does all of these thermal things and all of this environmental stuff along the way. Amazing. Great to have you on the show today. Thanks for sharing the Iron Matrix story, and have a great day tomorrow.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, that's all that we have time for here on Startup Daily TV, but make sure you head to startupdaily.net for all the latest news from Simon, including the latest on Afterpay and Zip today. Follow us also on Twitter at StartupDailyANZ. It's time for a short break here, Ausbiz Live. We'll be back after this with all of today's market coverage.
Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Cheers.